Have you ever finished cleaning your entire home, wiped every surface, polished every floor, put everything neatly in place, only to sit down and realize it still doesn't feel right? There's no dust left. The house looks tidy, and yet something inside you still feels heavy, as if the room itself is slowly shrinking, as if the walls are inching closer each day, and your breath grows just a little shorter. It's not because you're messy, it's because some things you once thought were harmless, have quietly taken over more than just floor space. They've begun to take space in your mind and in your heart. It could be that large cabinet, untouched for over 20 years, or the coffee table in the middle of the room that everyone has to step around, or the memory corner you no longer visit, but still can't bring yourself to let go of. After 60, a house is more than a place to live. It becomes a mirror of the soul. And sometimes, the things we hold on to no longer hold us. They quietly hold us back. Today's video is a gentle but honest warning. There are 5 groups of everyday objects that might be secretly shrinking your home and your peace of mind, 1 inch at a time. If you've ever felt like your house is closing in on you, even though no one moved the walls or changed the furniture, stay with me, because what you may need to clear out isn't trash. It's what no longer belongs to the present version of your life. And if you're ready to breathe easier again, to let your home feel like a place of rest, not a storage unit, then stay through to the end. This could be the beginning of a truly spacious new chapter. Category 1. Bulky furniture. When a room no longer lets you breathe freely, Lucy had lived in her home for nearly 30 years, a small, charming house near the city park, where she once raised 2 children side by side with Harold, her late husband. That space used to feel warm, tidy, and peaceful. But now, with the children grown and gone, and Lucy living alone, something inside the house had begun to change. It wasn't the faded paint. It wasn't clutter. It was something else. A kind of quiet crowding that settled into the walls, even though everything looked the same. The old entertainment cabinet beneath the TV still took up nearly an entire wall. It once held the DVD player, stereo, CD collection, instruction manuals, and Harold's favorite stacks of magazines. But now, the TV was mounted on the wall. The DVDs sat untouched. The manuals collected dust. And the whole unit, truthfully, was just holding on to an old habit. One afternoon, after returning from her daily walk, Lucy collapsed into her chair and glanced around the living room. From the oversized coffee table in the center, to the wide sofa nobody sat on anymore, to the unused cabinet, she realized she was surrounded by things that once made sense, but no longer served her life today. And that was the moment she decided to try something small. Remove just one thing. She cleared out the large coffee table and replaced it with a small tea tray by her chair. At first, it felt empty, but within a week, Lucy noticed something beautiful. She no longer had to twist her body to walk across the room. No more bending down to clean under the table. And when she opened the window, the sunlight wasn't blocked anymore. The room felt wider, brighter, easier to breathe in. Have you ever felt that too? An object you thought was essential until it was gone, and you didn't even miss it? That's how it was with the bench near Lucy's entryway. It used to be a place for guests to sit and chat. Now, it only held handbags, laundry, and tripped her up whenever she brought in groceries. She stored it away in the spare room, and like the table, she didn't miss it. She just felt lighter. A room can be lovely, even luxurious, but if you have to dodge, bend, or squeeze your way through it every day, It stops being a space for living and becomes a place you navigate just to exist. That bench, it had served its purpose, but it no longer served her. Lucy glanced at the large three-seat sofa, big, heavy, once the center of family gatherings. But now, she was alone. She wasn't quite ready to let it go, but she began to imagine a future where that space could hold something softer, simpler, just enough for one woman and one cup of tea. Sometimes letting go of bulky furniture isn't letting go of the past. It's creating space for a gentler present. So let me ask you this. Is there a piece of furniture in your living room that makes you turn sideways, hold your breath, or sigh every time you pass by? If there is, try what Lucy did. Set it aside for just 1 week. Don't toss it. Don't say goodbye. Just give yourself permission to test what it feels like to live without it. Because sometimes, the lightness doesn't come from removing the object. It comes from giving yourself room to breathe. And once Lucy cleared away the heaviest pieces, she realized there were still many other things quietly crowding her home. Smaller things, decorative things, not harmful in appearance but exhausting in practice. Category 2. Outdated decor. When making things pretty starts to weigh you down. After removing the larger furniture, Lucy began to notice her house was exhaling. In the morning, the sunlight poured in without being blocked by heavy cabinets. The walk to the kitchen felt open, unobstructed. But as the light filled the room, it began to highlight objects she hadn't really seen in years. Plastic flower arrangements on the TV shelf, a tall, fake plant leaning in the corner, dark lace curtains, gilded photo frames with faded pictures inside. They were once charming, but now, in a room that had begun to breathe again, they seemed to hold on to a kind of heaviness, the weight of what used to be beautiful. One day, while dusting, Lucy touched the tall faux plant. Its plastic leaves were dulled by a soft layer of dust. Its base wobbled slightly, untouched for who knows how long. She couldn't even remember when she had last looked at it. Really looked. It never grew, never wilted, never asked for water, and it had never made her smile. Then there was the old stereo system, once Harold's pride, large speakers, tangled wires. Now, just sitting there, unused, unnoticed, Lucy now listened to soft radio from a small portable speaker her son had given her. And so she asked herself a quiet but honest question. If something in this home no longer serves me, if it only adds to the cleaning, the dusting, the stepping around, does it still deserve to be here? The answer didn't come immediately, but a few days later, Lucy started. She moved the fake plant to the porch. She boxed up a faded painting. She kept only one small pale blue vase, placed in the sunlight where it caught the morning glow just right. And suddenly, the room didn't feel empty. It felt alive. Do you have things like that? Decorations that once brought joy, but now only collect dust. Items that were meant to look nice, but have long since faded from your attention. If so, don't rush to toss them. Just ask yourself this: do I still want to see this every day? And if the answer is no, then maybe it's time for that item to rest, or perhaps to bring joy in someone else's home. Because decorating isn't about filling every shelf. It's about allowing the space to reflect the quiet beauty within you. Lucy didn't throw everything out. She kept what made her smile, like the wind chime Harold had bought on their final trip together. But the rest? She called them things the eye keeps noticing, long after the heart has forgotten. And within a few weeks, her house felt lighter, brighter, more peaceful. No more wiping down scentless flowers. No more untangling cords from machines she no longer used. No more curtains that kept out the morning sun. Only light. Only a few cherished pieces. And a woman slowly rediscovering what it means to live in a home that gives back more than it takes. But just as Lucy finished refreshing her decor, something else caught her attention. Something she hadn't planned to deal with. Things she wasn't keeping for herself, but for someone else. For the kids, for the grandkids. For later. For just in case. Or simply because it felt wrong to say, I don't need this anymore. Category 3. Items kept for others. When your home no longer feels like your own. There was a cabinet Lucy had avoided opening for years, not because it was messy, but because every time she opened it, she was reminded that she was living among things that weren't really hers. Inside were old toys from a grandchild who had long since outgrown them. A few leftover textbooks from her son's college days. A broken printer her youngest once said he'd fix. Piles of clothes her daughter asked her to keep just for now because her place didn't have enough space. Lucy still remembered each of their promises. Mom, can you hold on to this for a bit? I'll pick it up soon. Don't throw it away, it's still useful. But year after year, those items remained. No one asked about them. No one came to take them back. What hurt most wasn't just the clutter, it was the fact that the space they occupied was where Lucy had once imagined placing a small bookshelf for her afternoon reading. Have you ever felt that way? Like your home, your sanctuary, had quietly become someone else's storage room? No one had forced Lucy to keep those things, but no one had ever asked her either. Do you still want this space to belong to you? One day, while searching for an extra winter blanket, Lucy had to pull everything out of that cabinet. Each item landed gently on the floor, and in that moment, she realized it wasn't the things themselves that felt heavy. It was the invisible weight of holding on for someone else. She didn't throw anything out right away. Instead, she did something brave. She picked up the phone and called each person. I still have what you left, she told them. But if you don't need it anymore, may I let it go? Most of them were surprised. Some had completely forgotten. Others simply said, Go ahead, Mum. I don't need it anymore. And just like that, Lucy began reclaiming her space. The empty toy basket became home to a blooming orchid. A small bookshelf was finally placed in the corner, just as she had once imagined. And over tea with a neighbor, Lucy smiled and said, I don't keep things for anyone else anymore. I keep space to breathe. For me, it may sound like a small shift, but for someone later in life, it can be a profound one. Because sometimes we become so used to making room for our children and grandchildren. We forget that our needs matter too, not just their belongings. Are you holding on to something just because you're too polite to ask about it? A box you haven't touched in years. A corner filled with items someone said they'd come back for. Something you're saving just in case they might want it. If so, try what Lucy did. Ask the question. Open the conversation. You might be surprised. Because when you remove something that isn't meant for you, you don't just gain square footage. You gain the right to live fully in your own home again. And once Lucy had reclaimed that space, her attention turned to something else. Not items that belonged to others, but things that had once belonged to her, used, loved, and needed, until slowly they weren't. Category 4. Unused items. Why keep what you never reach for? After clearing out that old cabinet, Lucy felt like she had taken off a heavy coat she didn't realize she'd been wearing. But the journey wasn't over. One morning, while preparing a simple breakfast, a slice of toast, a boiled egg, and a cup of hot tea, she opened a kitchen drawer to find her favorite wooden spoon. It took nearly 10 seconds to shuffle past a dozen gadgets she no longer used: vegetable peelers, baking molds, measuring cups, metal tongs, can openers, a manual egg beater. She paused. There, in the corner, sat a large bread maker, and the juicer her daughter had gifted her years ago, used just 3 times. Have you ever been in that moment where you're trying to reach for something simple and instead you're navigating around a drawer full of complications? None of those items were broken, none of them were bad, but they no longer fit into her current life. They were someday conveniences, things that sounded great, looked fancy, but in truth, only got in the way. That was when Lucy began to ask herself, how many things in this house exist simply because I'm not ready to say goodbye? One quiet afternoon, she pulled up a chair in the middle of the kitchen and opened every drawer. She picked up each item and asked, when did I last use this? Would I miss it if it disappeared tomorrow? And to her surprise, there were many things she had forgotten even existed. A French press she never used because she preferred her electric kettle. An elegant Italian glass set meant for special guests, but unused for 5 years. She didn't toss everything. She chose carefully. She kept what she used weekly and gave away what could serve someone else: a young neighbor starting a family, or a local donation center. As for the items she wasn't ready to part with just yet, Lucy placed them gently into a box labeled, "For when I'm ready." And the rule was simple. If 3 months passed and she hadn't looked for it, touched it, or missed it, then it was time to let it go. The drawers became clearer. Her mornings became simpler. Less time spent searching, less mental clutter. No more guilt about not using everything. Just the quiet contentment of knowing I'm using what I truly need. Holding on to old items out of guilt, or because they were expensive, or maybe I'll need it someday, it's something we've all done. But if every time you open a drawer, you feel burdened, then maybe it's time to ask, why am I holding on to this when I walk past it every day and never reach for it? Lucy didn't feel like she lost anything. She felt like she gained. Time, no more 10-minute utensil hunts. Peace, less to wipe down, less to put away. And a kitchen that finally felt like a place for living, not for storing a life already lived. And yet, even after clearing away furniture, decorations, and forgotten kitchen tools, Lucy still had one corner left untouched. Not because it was too heavy, but because it was almost weightless, so light that opening it brought a flood of memories she wasn't sure she was ready to feel. Category 5. Sentimental items. What remains should be what you truly want to see each day. There was a cabinet in Lucy's bedroom. It was never locked, but no one ever opened it either. Inside were old photographs, handwritten letters from Harold, sent to her back in the 1970s, a knitted scarf her mother had made when Lucy was just a girl, a slightly tarnished silver ring, a 40th birthday gift from a dear friend who had since passed, and a few old toys from her children's younger days: a plastic car with one missing wheel, a teddy bear with a torn ear, kept as quiet reminders that childhood once lived on these very tiles. She didn't open that cabinet every day, but the thought of tidying it up already tugged at her heart. Do you have a cabinet like that? A drawer? A box? An old suitcase tucked away somewhere, where you store memories as if holding on to a piece of yourself? Lucy used to believe that memories shouldn't be touched, but then she realized it's because they are precious that they deserve to be looked after. not buried under dust, not hidden behind things long forgotten. One afternoon, after brewing a warm pot of tea, Lucy opened the cabinet, not to remember, but to choose. She laid every item gently on the bed. Some brought tears, some brought a smile, and some brought only confusion. "Why did I hold on to this?" she whispered. And then she did something she once thought impossible. She chose the memories worth keeping, not just as fragments of the past, but as living parts of her present. She had her wedding photo reframed and hung by her bedroom door. The old knitted scarf was washed, folded, and placed on her sofa, a quiet companion each evening. And one letter, Harold's handwriting still crisp, was displayed in a small glass frame by her bedside lamp. The rest she wrapped carefully, not thrown away, just returned to time. She later told a close friend, "I didn't keep everything. I kept what makes me want to keep living." And maybe that's the most important part. Memories deserve space, but not to cover the present. They are here to remind us what we once had was beautiful, and that's why we must keep moving forward, not stop in the past. Are you keeping things that no longer stir anything in your heart just because you're afraid to forget? Have you ever considered that curating your memories isn't throwing them away, but giving the most meaningful ones a chance to truly shine? Lucy had lived in that house for 3 decades, and when she stepped out of that room, the one once filled to the brim with keepsakes, she didn't feel empty. She felt clearer, lighter, and most of all, she felt like she was moving forward, not held back, not weighed down by what had been, but supported by the few precious things she chose to carry into her next chapter. After it all, the house remained the same house, the same familiar walls, the same window facing the morning sun. But what had changed was how it felt on the inside. After all the changes, Lucy's home didn't feel empty. It wasn't cold. It wasn't missing anything. In fact, it felt more familiar, more comforting, more hers than ever before. What was once a space she had to maneuver around, dodging furniture, stepping over clutter, avoiding certain corners of emotion, had now become a place she could walk through freely. Her hands no longer carried unnecessary weight. Her eyes no longer had to look past piles of things that didn't belong. And her heart no longer whispered, "Something doesn't feel right." Because every item that remained in her home had been chosen to stay, chosen to support, chosen to walk with her, not hold her back in the past, out of guilt, duty, or fatigue. And here's the strange and beautiful truth. As her home became lighter, her body felt lighter too. Her mind felt clearer, and her heart could finally breathe. Decluttering isn't about throwing things away. It's about reclaiming the right to decide what your space should feel like. It's about asking, don't I deserve to live in a home that's tidy, peaceful, and filled with light? And answering yourself, yes, I do, and I can begin right now. You don't have to change everything all at once. Maybe it's just one table, one chair, one drawer, one sentimental item. Not to push the past away, but to come closer to the present version of yourself. And if you're still here with me, thank you, truly. Because that tells me something. You're not just looking for ways to keep your home clean. You're searching for a gentler way to live. A rhythm that's slower, less cluttered, less heavy with things that no longer belong. If there's one object from this video that reminded you of something in your own home, share it in the comments. I'd love to hear your story, whether it's a cabinet, a coffee table, or just a small item that always made you pause. And if today's message meant something to you, hit that like button or send this video to someone you love. Sometimes a soft suggestion is all it takes to help someone begin living differently in the very home they already have. Because no matter our age, each of us deserves a home that feels spacious in body and in spirit. And sometimes that journey doesn't begin with buying something new, but with letting go of what no longer serves us. I'll see you in the next video here on Senior Rise, where even the smallest change can be the beginning of something new, something gentle, and something truly meaningful.